Hey guys, Gijoe here, and welcome back to my bunker here in Atlanta, Georgia. I want to talk to you today about this fantastic customization way to paint your pieces. And I have to give credit, of course, to Siredblood on this. When I was at his tournament here 2 weeks ago, this is the way that he had his pieces painted. And as soon as I saw them, I just went crazy. I was like, I've got to have my pieces painted this way. So talked to Sireblood a lot about this process, and I started doing it myself here back in Atlanta, and I wanted to share that with you. So basically what it is it is an aged, kind of weathered look on the pieces. And of course, if you know out-of-box pieces, you know, this is a UK battleship, the HMS Hood, but obviously this is not the color of out-of-box. The color from out-of-box is like a tan or beige, and this is a yellowish tint. So what I want to do is I want to take you into my shop here and show you how I did this. And this is basically Sireblood's technique, and I've learned a few things, one or two mistakes that I made that were pretty big, and of course, in corresponding with Sireblood, he kind of set me straight on a few things. So I thought I'd share that process with you. So let's walk into the shop and I'll show you how I did this. Okay guys, here we are in my shop. As you can see, I've already been doing some work here, painting some of my pieces. I do have the garage door open when I paint for ventilation, but just so you know. But I guess what I want to talk to you about first are the paints that I use. Now, these are the same paints that Sireblood mentioned on his channel, and I've been kind of hounding him about this, and he was kind enough to post that on his on a video on his channel here a couple days ago. But basically, what in order to do this, you first have to prime your pieces. So this is the primer that he recommended, and I use as well. Got all of this at Home Depot for about $3.89 per can. So we have a gray primer, and of course this bonds to plastic. This is called Green Apple, which is the China color. This is called Colonial Red, which is the Soviet Union. This is Fossil, which is Anzac. Here we have Rustic Orange for Japan. Lemon Grass for UK. We have Nutmeg here for Italy. Moss Green. Oh, should not be Moss Green. That should be Eden. I think I messed up. I did mess up. No wonder my pieces don't look like Sireblood's. Well, I'm going to have to get a different green. Dang it. And we have French Blue. Well, see, I just realized that. I think this can right here was stuck in the Eden thing, and I didn't even read the can. I just kind of grabbed it. So this one must have been in the wrong bin. But, okay. But anyways, we can fix that. That's not a big deal. I'll just go get another $3 can and paint my pieces with that color. So, so what I have here going on is, as you can see, I've got my China pieces, my Anzac, my French, my Japan. I've got Germany over here. I just finished doing Russia. And here's my Americans, all in the wrong color. Green, apparently. This is moss green. I wondered why mine looked a little bit lighter than his. But not a big deal. I'll go get another can and spray over that. That won't be a big deal. Here I have my Italians. And this is the rest of my British, UK. So let me show you basically what I did. Now, let's see, let's go over here. Here are some finalized pieces, and I did a lot of experimenting, and I wanted to show you the process. So essentially what we have here is, the first thing we have to do is we have to prime a piece. So this is a Soviet Union soldier, and this is him primed. And incidentally, this primer right here is the same color that I'm using for Germany, and that's what Sireblood recommended. So all these pieces right over here that are German, all I did was I primed them, and the primer dries like in 20 to 30 minutes. It's pretty awesome. And then from there, I did the last step, which I'll talk about in a second. So it's essentially a 3-step process. The first process is you take your out-of-box piece, you prime it using this flat gray primer. And so you prime it, let it set for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then essentially what I would do is it would dry for 20 minutes, and then I'd flip it over like this, spray that in the bottom, and let it dry for 20 minutes. And then, you know, an hour or a couple hours later, then I would paint it. So all of these pieces, of course, here have been primed and obviously painted. So that's the first step, priming, then painting. Now, after you paint, then what you're going to do is you're going to dip into this polyurethane right here, and you're going to actually dip it, and then you're going to kind of blot it with this paper towel. And essentially what you get is this kind of look right here. So you see some of my finished pieces, my UK pieces. You see my priest here. It's pretty cool detail. I don't know how blurry this is, but see some of my China pieces. My cavalry came in, so I painted it. Cavalry, sorry. Here are my Japanese pieces. These are some of my HBG tanks, medium tanks that I got. I also have some light tanks coming for Japan. And you see some of my custom infantry that I got. These are the same custom infantry guys that, if you've seen my Japan custom infantry video, I finally painted them because I couldn't find a paint that matched, so I decided to paint everything. These are my mechanized infantry, and I accidentally ordered the wrong one. This is actually the Mack truck for the US. So I had to reorder the Japanese mechanized infantry rather. But you can see all the cool detail, how the polyurethane kind of seeps into all the different crevices and stuff and makes everything kind of weathered and pop. You see that cool Japanese flag. And so anyways, here's some of my German pieces. You can see my Tiger tanks, nice and weathered. Again, some of my custom German infantry that you've probably seen before if you've seen any of my videos. So what I want to do is I want to, real briefly, I don't want to take too long on this video, but I just want to show you the process. So I'm not going to actually show spray painting because all you have to do is just lay all the pieces out and then spray paint the primer on. So that's essentially what I did throughout all here. And then once you do that, then of course you spray paint the colors on there. And what I want to do is I'm going to do a priming, and I'm going to do the polyurethane, and let's do a battleship. All right, so here is a Bismarck right here. So I'm going to go and do the polyurethane on this. I can't do this yet because I just painted these yesterday and today, and I need them to wait about 2 days to make sure the paint totally cures. However, this primer dries and hardens pretty quickly, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. So let me set up my camera so I can use both of my hands on my tripod, and then I'll show you this process, okay? Okay guys, so the polyurethane I'm using is by Minwax. It's Poly Shades, it's a stain and polyurethane, and it's honey satin. This ran me about $10 or $11. I got it also at Home Depot, same place I got the paint. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just simply going to actually, I mix this up. I'm going to take my battleship, and you want to have a paper towel really close and handy because you can see my hands are a mess, but I'll get that off a little later. So I'm taking a pair of tweezers here. You can do this however you want, maybe like this. And I'm gonna just dip this, and then kind of shake off the excess, put it in here, and then I like to wipe off this a little bit. All right, so then essentially once you dip it, you just kind of start dabbing this a little bit and getting all the excess off. And what happens is, we'll make sure to get the bottom too. Try not to touch it with my hands, my fingers, but what happens is you're getting all the stuff off, but it still kind of leaves this little residue on it, so it kind of looks weathered. And then of course, it gets down in these little cracks and crevices here, and kind of one makes it look aged and weathered, but it also illuminates it and kind of makes it pop a little bit, whether it be like, you know, look like shadows or what have you. So this is kind of all you have to do, and you kind of look around a little bit, and you know, you can kind of tweak it how you want to. And if it's a little bit too built up, like, I don't know if you can see that right there, it's a little bit too much there, so I just kind of stick my fingernail in there with the, kind of soak some of that up. And I don't know how well you can see that, but well, that's a little bit too much on the bottom. So it just kind of puts this little film over it, and so you have this little weathered look. Now, it's probably hard to tell on this, at least on the camera. I'm looking at the piece and I can see it on the piece really well, but on the camera, because it's you know, doesn't contrast as well because you have a gray with a dark primer, or I'm sorry, a dark poly. So on the camera it's not picking up as well as I can see it live in person. But I want to show you on a piece where it has maybe more contrast. And so I'm gonna grab this is my little bitty tank that I'm using for China, which is the same one that Siredblood uses. So I'm gonna drop that in there, and again, put this in here. Of course, you can see what it looks like before, and you just start dabbing like this, and you can see it's starting to get off. Now, I will say that one of the mistakes I made, I mentioned earlier in my video that I made 2 big mistakes, and it's okay because I was experimenting, and then I had to kind of contact Sired, and he was cool enough to share some technique with me. But I made the mistake when I first dipped it in here. I thought, well, it's not going to stick to it, so I need to let it sit a while. So I went and dipped like 10 to 15 pieces. Well, when I came back to do all this, the stuff was drying really quickly. And what I found happened was all that stuff started to sit up in here more than I wanted, and you started to see the liquid actually of the polyurethane. So it was almost like a reflection, like a glossy kind of reflection. And I realized I had messed up. So corresponded with Siredblood, and he said, no, man, you want to do one at a time, and as soon as you dip it, you want to start wiping. So that's the first mistake I made was, you know, as soon as you have to basically go one piece at a time, and it does take, you know, about a minute per piece, 30 seconds to a minute per piece, but now you can see, I mean, look at that. Weathered, it's all in the cracks, it makes the tracks kind of pop. I mean, how cool is that? You know, if you just want to keep going, if you want it to be darker, you just don't take as much off. See, it makes all the little details, even the, just so cool. And sometimes right underneath here, it's hard to get, so you have to kind of do like this if you don't want it to be too predominant right there. So that's essentially that. And of course, on these lighter colors like the green, or for China, or the orange for Japan, or the lemon, whatever, the yellow for UK, really pops. So like, I'll show you here. Let me lower this stand a little bit. I don't want to restart the camera. So if I lower my stand here, and you can just see how it really pops. And that's, so my favorite colors, of course, are this yellow and the orange and the green, because it really makes this weathering really pop. So you've got the King George there. Of course, I've got 2 of them. Back here, I got these from HBG. So I got the King George and then the Prince of Wales or something like that. This is the HMS Hood. You can just see how awesome and weathered that looks. So here's some of my Japanese transports. Of course, some of these pieces are not out of box. I've got these off HBG, or this is from the 1941 game. So anyways, that's essentially what happened. So like I said, the first mistake I made was I dipped too many pieces at one time, and you might be able to see what happened right here. I don't know if you can see this, but like I can see a little shine right in here, and rather than a dull kind of weathered look, it's a little bit shiny because I had too much liquid polyurethane sitting on there, and so it sat up and dried, and That's because I did all 10 transports at the same time and then went back. By the time I got to the last one, it was too bad. Now, I like this. It's not too bad. If I want to, I could just go and spray over it again with some primer and then try it again, but I think I'll leave that. So that's that. I'm trying to think of the other, what's the other mistake I made? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, the other mistake I made was I didn't wait long enough for the paint to cure. So I got a little anxious on the first 3 or 4 pieces that I tried, and I tried to put the polyurethane on before the piece, before the glue, before the paint cured. And what happened was it reacted weird with the paint, and the paint started to bubble a little bit. And so make sure if you want to do this process, the paint needs to cure for probably like 2 days. So if you feel any kind of tackiness or stickiness on the paint, let it go. And here in Atlanta, where it's pretty humid, you might have to go 2 or 3 days. Let the paint totally dry, get hard. There's no sticky or tackiness to the touch. Then you're ready to do the polyurethane. So anyways, hope you enjoy. Like I said, you may or may not be interested in this as far as doing this to all your pieces. But I kind of have to get this done because I've got that October 3rd or October 19th game I'm hosting with a couple of guys that I've met through the Atlanta Axis and Allies. So hope you enjoy, guys. And if you have any questions, please comment below. Okay, thanks for watching.